everybody, and welcome to the Burnettwork. I am RM of Positive Fandom and the Burnettwork, and it is such a pleasure to see you all here on this Saturday. Certainly so excited to tell you all about my second day at New York City Comic Con 2023. It's such a pleasure to be here this morning with you all. I want to say hello to Tom Jr. Jackson. Tom Jr. Jackson is my moderator, collaborator, and good friend. Certainly a huge part of the Burnettwork family. Tom, hope you're okay today. Says, welcome to day 2 of the New York Comic Con 2023 recap with RM. And guys, please do like and subscribe to the buttons below and enjoy the show. Please subscribe to the Burnettwork and also please subscribe to my channel, Positive Fandom, guys. I certainly could use some more subscribers there. And it is such a pleasure for all of you who've been so wonderful to already subscribe. I so appreciate every single one of you. So thank you for the support. Also, guys, when you get a chance, subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel as well. Do check out his incredible videos and reviews. Tom, I haven't seen your latest one, but I am going to check it out. I especially enjoyed your Werewolf in London review, which just puts a smile on my face every time I think about an American werewolf in London. So, guys, if you like classic horror and so much more, subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel as well, guys. And remember, guys, for 99 cents, for as little as 99 cents, you can become a PGS member and join the Zoom calls here on the PGS and speak to Robert if you'd like to, and share all your thoughts and concerns, everything right here on the Burnettwork. Also want to say, guys, don't forget that on Mondays, I do have my Ladies of the PGS show on Monday with Lorena Creole. As you know, Lorena and I do work together a lot. So, guys, please do come back on Monday night at 6 p.m. for that show as well. I also want to say good morning to Scott Bartholomew. Hello, Scott. How are you, Scott? Hope you are well this morning. So good to see you. And I hope you're having a great day. Also, thank you, Tom. I'll tell mom that you said hello. She is having some treats right now, and she's quite content. So thank you for asking. I want to say hello to Mighty Orbots. Hey, Mighty Orbots, how are you? Hope you're well. Hope you are having a good day. Hope everybody is having a good day today. I certainly do enjoy letting you guys know how the con has gone for me so far this year, because it's been a very different con, right? We had this writer's strike, and this writer's strike certainly does change a lot of things. I got to turn the fan, it's too hot. It certainly does change a lot of things when it comes to these experiences we expect as fans when we go to a con. And certainly things have been a little different. But it is a pleasure to be here this morning to talk to you all about what's going on, guys. And I have to say, it has been a very exciting con because, as usual, I do enjoy the panels. I've said this before. I love going to panels at the con. There are so many different things to explore and to experience, but I also love seeing people and getting together with the community, where I always say 95% of the enjoyment of a con is meeting up with friends and getting a chance to say hello to everybody out there who we enjoy and who understands the PGS and this fantastic online community, which is really unmatched. Scott Bartholomew says, doing well, getting ready for the annular eclipse here in North Texas. Scott, that sounds wonderful. It's and so exciting. I hope the weather is nice and clear and that you have a great view, Scott. Such a pleasure. And thank you for letting us know what's going on there in North Texas, Scott. So, guys, I did go to the con here in New York. And as I've said, it is greatly affected by the writer's strike. I did mention to you all that on Thursday I went, and I do have a video of that first day, which was wonderful. I got to go to 2 panels on that first day, which included Ewan McGregor and Norman Reedus. So I was absolutely just so excited and pleased as punch that I got a chance to go to those 2. So that was a wonderful experience. And of course, Friday's experience was certainly equally wonderful. To tell you a little bit about some of the incredible panels that I went to, and then also some of the people that I got a chance to meet up with and the experiences that also make it so special. So I want to start with one of the first and perhaps maybe the most amazing panel that I went to, and it has to do with DMC, uh, who we all know from the group Run DMC, the famous rap group Run DMC and Jam Master Jay. For those of us who grew up listening to rap music, and certainly also listening to Aerosmith, um, we certainly remember a lot of their collaboration. What a great collaboration that was. And hello, Joey Johnson says, hey, Arton and Tom Jr. Jackson. Well, Joey, hello to you. Hope you are well today. Yeah, the collaboration between Aerosmith and Run DMC was amazing. They did this song called Walk This Way together, and it was just really amazing and fun. And these wonderful rock rap collaborations were stellar at that during that time period. And I'm sure many of you do remember how great it was, how the music was spectacular. And it is true. Run DMC is a rap group. It's got three guys who were in the group. Two of them are still alive. One of them has passed away. It was Run, who was one gentleman, DMC, and Jam Master Jay. And I think it was Jam Master Jay who unfortunately passed away about 20 years ago. But Run and DMC, these two gentlemen, are still alive. And it turns out that DMC, whose name is Daryl McDaniels, it turns out that he, and I should have pulled this up sooner, and I don't know why I didn't do this before, but here goes. I feel a little silly and kind of after the fact because I meant to pull this up while I was talking and just to kind of present it because just for the context of people who don't know who Run DMC are, I'm assume that everybody knows who Run DMC are. So just to put it into perspective, here's the group. You can see them in this black and white photo. Um, and certainly you can see them with their this is from the 1980s there, and certainly this rap group has been such a phenomenal group. And so yeah, this is they were formed in 1983 in New York City in Hollis, Queens. Hollis, Queens is a few not few boroughs, few maybe one or two towns away from where I grew up in Queens as well. I grew up in an area called Laurelton, and certainly it was yes, Joe, he was killed. That's right, Joe. So Jam Master Jay, I think who's on the if you're looking at the photo that we're all looking at, he's on the left side. He was unfortunately killed about 20 years ago, right, Joe? And in the middle of this picture is Daryl McDaniels, also known as DMC. And on the right-hand side is a gentleman by the name of Joseph Simmons. I hope I'm saying that right. I can't remember. Yes, Scott, wasn't it great, Scott? Oh my gosh, what a great time, huh? They were amazing. I'm the king of rock. There is no higher. All sucker MCs should call me sire. I won't stop rapping till I retire. I can remember all the songs. I don't want to get pulled down. I don't know whether rap songs Scott, are under like the same copyright. And hello, Cindy. Hey, Cindy. How are you? Cindy Sanchez is here. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Cindy, hope you are well. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, Scott, this was such a great time. And that collaboration they did with Aerosmith also was in addition to all the other stuff that they were doing. And so why am I bringing up this group right now, guys? What's going on? Why am I talking about Run DMC? And it says Run DMC, but it was also Jam Master Jay, as we mentioned, was the gentleman who passed away. And certainly that whole group of people, this whole group of incredible 1980s rap artists, and they used to sing what I call old school rap, which is still my favorite. I still love old school rap. I love that old school sentiment and a lot of this stuff. And it was a great time. A lot of the rap was certainly a lot of fun, enjoyable things. And rap has changed quite a bit, but I'll never forget these classics. As far as I'm concerned, these guys are a classic, and there they are with their hats. I'm assuming they're Kangol. They may not be Kangols, but they might be Kangol hats with those incredible rope chains, right? Um, and certainly looking fantastic and sporty. They were very stylish gentlemen, very artistic, very creative. And I wanted to tell you about why am I bringing up Run DMC at all and Jam Master Jay? It's because DMC, Daryl McDaniels, is the has a comic background, and a lot of the lyrics, as many of you probably already know, of some of the early rap was inspired by superheroes from some of the largest comic book companies, Marvel and DC, and I guess some others through the years. So I did just want to mention that. Of course, here it says Run DMC became the first hip hop group to achieve a gold record. And I do want to mention that it is really interesting that any hip hop artist would be inspired by comics. But guys, in the 1980s, so many kids were reading comic books. It didn't matter where you were from, comics were popular. And there were so many young kids, regardless of your background, who were reading comics. So it didn't matter what kind of music you listened to, whether it was rap, whether it was rock music, whether it was, whatever. Every kid was practically reading these comics. And this was a very different era. If you saw a boy, chances are he had read a comic book. Like that was kind of the norm at the time. And it was very different. And so I do just want to kind of talk about this particular panel. So what does this have to do with Comic-Con? What on earth does this have to do with Comic-Con? This is what it has to do with Comic-Con, guys. While I was at Comic-Con yesterday, I had seen this panel. I couldn't believe my eyes. Of course, DM Comic, which is DMC, Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC, presents 50 years of hip hop and comics. Now, I've got to tell you, it's hard to present 50 years of hip hop in comics. It's not the easiest thing to do in the 1 hour that was there. And it was even especially harder considering the group of people who were there, the people who were behind some of the greatest comics and best-selling comic book runs, including the gentleman who first introduced the idea of Miles Morales was there, guys. This was a very special presentation, and I don't think I'm ever going to see these guys all in the same room ever again. It was remarkable. So it says Daryl Makes Comics, which is DMC Comic, celebrates 50 years of comic books influence on hip hop culture, and founder DMC and his special guest, Bill Sienkiewicz, who's the designer of the comic book, and also he's a famous artist. He did the EPMD cover for that album, for that group, as well as Kid Cudi. I don't know all the actual names, but he was there. Also, Sanford Green from Across the Spider-Verse was there. Can you imagine this panel, guys? Pharoah Monch and Pete Rock. It was just unbelievable what we were seeing here. And it was moderated by music journalist Rob Markman and Damian Scott from Miles Morales and Black Eyed Peas' Masters of the Sun. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, Across the Spider-Verse is obviously was one of the most successful animated films this year. And of course, I think it was, I don't know whether it was Into, Across, or Beyond, but certainly, guys, that was an incredibly popular animated movie. The first one in 2018 won an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. So this was really kind of not just hip hop royalty, but also comic royalty when it comes to this idea of hip hop and comics. Now, there was only an hour, and it was really cool. We got a chance to hear from each of the panelists, and it was amazing hearing. Damian Scott talk about. I think it was Damian Scott, or it might have been actually someone else. I'm getting all the names messed up. But and I have it on my phone, and I'm going to go into more detail about it probably tonight if we do a musings. But I did want to mention that something that stuck out was not the fact that the comics and hip hop were connected, and that, you know, that these rap artists used to use comic book references in their lyrics and their rap songs. That wasn't what stuck out. What stood out to me was hearing the gentleman who proposed the idea of Miles Morales get up there and talk about how when he proposed it and when it came out, that he got death threats from people for even suggesting Miles Morales as a character. Now, I had to think about this a little bit because I always say, guys, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to be kind. And I did just want to bring it up because it was kind of very disappointing, and I think, you know, eye-opening, the notion that someone should get a death threat for that reason because someone doesn't want to see that character. So I was going to say I don't believe that I don't believe that that's a healthy thought, even that someone would do something like that to and such a talented creator. And we can see how popular these Spider-Man films have been, right, guys? The 2018 one, which won the Academy Award, perhaps the one from 2023 this year will win an Academy Award. Who knows? But the point is that this is someone's idea and creation. And, you know, there's no reason to have threats against somebody for something like this. So I did just want to mention that. And that really shook me. However, it was wonderful to see these panelists talk about their experiences in comics, talk about their experiences. Some of the rap artists that they referenced in the panel even had superhero names that were inspired. Their rap name was inspired by superhero comics. So I did want to mention that. And I felt like that was important. There's two books that I also wanted to make you guys aware about. So you guys, you know, this would be considered an indie comic in some cases, but some of the comics that obviously Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, I don't really consider an indie. But some of what they were talking about were indie comics, very specifically that would document the history of hip hop. So I did want to mention that very specifically because uh, I during the panel, they were good enough to show two kinds of displays. One of them was kind of these comics that had hip hop influences and vice versa, along with superhero influences. And it was fascinating to see it. But then there was another one that kind of documented the history of hip hop in a comic book form. And it was remarkable to see what was done. So I had already been familiar with that particular book because I'm a huge fan of an artist by the name of Ed Piskor. And many of you have probably heard of Ed Piskor. He has a particular YouTube channel called Cartoonist Kayfabe. And I think I'm going to try and bring it up. They showed one of his books, one of his items on there. And I'm going to show it to you guys. I'm going to just want to make sure it doesn't show my name in here. So what am I referring to? I'm referring to a comic book that shows the history of hip hop over the past 50 years. It's called The Hip Hop Family Tree. And during the presentation, one of the moderators did show it up on the screen. So I'm going to show it. You can actually buy it from Amazon. I did want to tell you about this because, interestingly enough, the volumes came out over the past few years. Here's one, August 2016. You can see it says Hip Hop Family Tree. And and I really am a huge fan of this comic. I'm just gonna click on it so we can get a little bit closer, and you can kind of see like a bunch of famous hip hop artists. There's Ice Cube, and obviously there's Snoop Dogg. I was going through all the names, and trying to remember every person who was here. There might be Slick Rick or I can't remember all the guys. Of course, that's Tupac there. Cool Mo D. There's LL. Is LL Cool J there? And a bunch of other guys. I can't remember all the names, guys. So I apologize for that I don't know everybody as well as I should. Here's more. There's Queen Latifah here. And that might be Grandmaster Flash. You know, I don't know all the names. I haven't memorized all the names, but this is one of the best as far as I'm concerned. And I think that was Heavy D My friend was reminding me who that was. I said, "Who's that? Look at this guy. He's wearing, you notice he has like a Jason mask on." And it just goes on with so many of these cool artists from that era and time period where we got such cool old school rap that I enjoy, and I think still does influence. There's Kid, if it's not Kid and Play, it might be Kid and Play at the bottom. So many amazing rap artists there. Now it turns out that there's now this is not. I didn't buy this. I haven't bought this Hip Hop Family Tree 1983 set. The one I picked up was I'm trying to look for the name. The author Ed Piskor, who's a famous he's a famous uh I can't remember what you would call a comic book creator. It's this particular book, but I do want to just show you guys briefly. You see, it gets very long because there's so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Scott Bartholomew says Heavy D and the Boys. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't remember that. And thank you, Small Time Republic. Humpty Hump in the upper right. Thank you for that. I couldn't remember, because I remember watching all these. You remember? God, it was so good. All the different artists and their work and having this fun time with a lot of it, right, guys? But there's more. And I did just want to share this with you. I'm gonna go to YouTube, which we're on, and I'm going to go to Cartoonist Kayfabe, which is many of you already know that I'm a huge fan of this channel. It's maybe my favorite cartoon channel next to your boy Zach. So I'm just going to stop presenting this for 1 second. I'm going to show you Cartoonist Kayfabe's YouTube channel because and I can't help myself. Do the Humpty Hump. Say what? Do the Humpty Hump. Do it, baby. Sorry, guys, I couldn't help myself. You remember? Remember Small Time Republic? Yeah, I can't help myself. Heavy D and the Boys. I'm trying to think of what song. I'm just trying to think of. He's the overweight lover, Heavy D. The girls, they love me because he's the overweight lover, Heavy D. Remember? It's so good. Guys, this stuff was just pure magic and gold and fun. These lyricist things, it was amazing. All right, so I did just want to, and thank you, Scott, and thank you, Small Time Republic, for helping me out because I did need help. I couldn't remember the names, right? So yeah, here's Cartoonist Kayfabe's YouTube channel. I can't point in the right direction because I'm in the wrong. It's kind of like that way. Cartoonist Kayfabe, Ed Piskor, Jim Ruggs. I can't read, it's so small. Oh my goodness gracious. Jim Rugg. These guys are amazing. They're kind of they're absolutely remarkable in the sense of what they're doing. They're not just going through comics, but they go through the history of comics, their favorite comics, adult comics, the most popular comics, everything. The other day they had the guy, you remember Aeon Flux from the 80s, guys? They had that guy on, and they do, traditional Asian manga, everything you could imagine these guys cover. But it turns out that Ed Piskor, who's the guy with the sunglasses and the hat, that you see, this guy in the picture on the left, he oh, thanks so much, Brogu, I really appreciate that. Thanks so much, and good morning, Brogu. That guy on the left, Ed Piskor, is the one who created the 50 years, the Hip Hop Family Tree comic book. Okay. So in addition to DMC creating his own comic book company, I did want to mention this Hip Hop Family Tree comic book that Ed Piskor has created. And we looked at one of the versions already. We looked at that first one. So it turns out, guys, yeah, isn't it sad, Scott? I thought he was so talented. What fun it was to be a fan of hip hop at a time when hip hop was what I'd like to call somewhat friendlier. It was just fun and maybe even a little innocent for so long before it got a little bit more raunchy, which is, that's the artist's choice to do that. I'm not saying that they can't, but it was a different kind of thing, and you could kind of just enjoy the music and the rap things somewhat more innocently, I think. And yeah, so I did want to mention during the panel discussion, because Daryl does have a new book out. So I encourage you all to get the book. And I'm going to show you the poster for Daryl in a second. Okay. But I just was so impressed with this panel because I didn't think I was going to be meeting the guy who was responsible for Across the Spider-Verse, yesterday. Like, I didn't know I was going to meet this man. And like the notion of it all, it's just so remarkable. So anyway, what I wanted to say was, uh, Ed Piskor, who is part of Cartoonist Kayfabe, and I would actually, if you guys like comics, regardless as to whether they're superhero comics or indie comics or whatever, subscribe to Cartoonist Kayfabe. This is the best channel for comics that I've ever seen, and they also have their own websites for their own comics. And you can go to their website and download their comics for free, like pretty much for some of them. Like, I thought that was really nice. So here you can kind of see, like, they look at all different things. The Art of Frank Frazetta, that was from a few years ago. Some of the adult ones, this is obviously adult comics, right? And then some other things. The Greatest Comic is Here, and different interviews. I can't say enough about what they have on this channel. All right. They also have they do so much more. They have interviews, they review comics too from other channels and from other artists. And I've actually learned a lot about comics in general, from them. And of course, you guys may not know this. I do collect comics. I do like adult comics, but they also talked about, I feel like, I have my own opinion about what the greatest comics ever made are some of those funnies that would be in the newspapers for years and years and years and years and years, and people would read them and laugh. So they even cover stuff like that too. So they get old school. They get old school. So I want to go back to this Amazon page that we kind of are enjoying, right? It was just even fun to look at that original book, wasn't it? So it turns out that before Comic-Con was happening this year, I had heard that Ed Piskor was going to be offering this Hip Hop Family Tree Omnibus Edition. And I said, gee, there's this DMC panel. All these cool people from, rap artists will be there. It'd be great to have DMC sign this Omnibus Edition. But the Omnibus Edition doesn't come out till the 17th of this year, which is in a few days. I think it says it on there. I can't read it well enough because my vision is not as great as it used to be. But guys, I have to tell you, you can imagine what was going through my mind. Ed Piskor's Hip Hop Family Tree, and they showed not this one, but the other picture that I showed earlier with where you could see a lot of the artists. And if you look at this picture, the Omnibus Edition actually does have the same background. You notice it looks very similar to what we saw in the previous picture. For those of you who were here, you'll still see the artist, right? You notice he has them, but he has them in a different fashion behind Grandmaster Flash. I think that's Grandmaster Flash, right? You can see the artist there, right, in the background. And it's, of course, it says Ed Piskor's Hip Hop Family Tree, guys, the Omnibus Edition. And it tells you here very clearly that Kindle, it'll deliver by October 17th. So it's literally coming out soon, but it wasn't in enough time for me to bring it. My intention was to bring it to this event and just have all these guys sign it because they were such an important part of, hip hop and comics. And I thought this would be a great collector's edition because even if it was Ed Piskor's work, I still wanted them to sign this. So, and thank you so much, Scott, for chiming in here. And I do appreciate these comments. It says 80s old school hip hop was badass. Unfortunately, it's developed to a profane product that I would not recommend to anyone. Yeah. And it was badass, right, Scott? This stuff was awesome. I mean, it was really just a fantastic, fun foray of, lyrical genius and just positivity. Pretty much a lot of it was positive. And it was playful and, not too much harm was meant to anybody. You were supposed to enjoy this music, just have a laugh, rock to the beat, just enjoy yourself. And I kind of miss a little bit of that innocence and fun that we had. Very kind of house party ish. Small Time Republic says in the 90s, both rock and rap started taking themselves too seriously. Yeah. That's something to be said. and something to think about, Small Time Republic. And thank you for saying that. And so, guys, I did just want to mention also, I'm just going to read this. Ed Piskor's Hip Hop Family Tree has been a global phenomenon and perennial bestseller since the first of 4 volumes was published in 2013, spawning multiple printings, 14 comic books, and the author's wildly popular YouTube's comics channel, Cartoonist Kayfabe, which I showed you guys a few seconds ago, with fellow cartoonist Jim Rugg. Yet the series has never been collected under one cover until now. Until now. You know, like, this omnibus collection includes an original 360-page series with over 140 pages of extra material and cover gallery of every Hip Hop Family Tree book and comic book cover. 360-page series with over 140 pages of extra material. Oh my gosh, you realize how much that is? Of all, like, this is insane. So, I mean, it's not insane, but you guys know what I mean. Like, I think this is amazing. And of course, they talk about capturing the flavor of the late 1970s New York City in panels, bursting with obsessively authentic detail, with a vigorous and engaging Ken Burns meets Stan Lee approach, with the battles and the rivalries. You remember the battle? Hey, Scott, can you, when you get a chance, Scott, I know if you are still listening, can you please comment on the hip hop battles if you know anything about it? I'm gonna say, guys, that what used to happen is they'd have a turntable. And guys, we're talking a folding table. It was nothing fancy. They'd have 2 turntables there. They'd have this hip hop battle. One person would rap and then say, I'm the best person out there. There is none greater. You know, and then the other person would go and then they would rap and they would battle, these hip hop battles. Certainly something that was fun. It was meant for you to have fun. And a lot of these guys did these rhymes off the cuff. Some of them memorized their rhymes. It was serious. This was a serious thing. And it was fun, guys. This was a fun foray of just enjoying yourself, and certainly to record this, you know, for posterity, I think is amazing that that Ed decided to do this. He didn't have to do this, but he did. And of course, this is a hip hop battle from the 1980s that we're talking about, where it was very low key. It was, you know, DMC actually talked yesterday about how that hip hop battle was, you know, very uh low key, and it was great. It was sort of how a lot of this movement started and how much they enjoyed it. Um so it makes me want to kind of pull up some photos, but I did just want to show this is just one. So guys, I'm getting this omnibus edition, and I hope DMC comes back next year with another panel where he talks more about this involvement, because it wasn't enough time to talk with everybody. I didn't get that particular omnibus yet. It's not out for sale. They did give away these. I didn't even get this signed. It's like almost too big for me to show. It says Run DMC. And it says, what does it say? 50 years of hip hop limited edition print. Okay. And I am going to, you know, at another con, which I know these guys will be back, because this isn't over. This is not over by a long shot. DMC has his new comic thing, you know, his new comics too. So I am going to buy those. I didn't get a chance. Thank you so much. Oh, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for this. Profess That Film Fan says, good morning and afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Profess That Film Fan. The Film Fan. Certainly do chime in, guys. Stephen Mack says, my first concert was Run DMC Beastie Boys in 1986. That's a good one. Wow. How'd you get tickets for that? Gosh, I would have loved to have gone to that. My parents wouldn't let me go to it, but it would have been great. And Scott Bartholomew says, freestyle battle rap was badass. Yes, it was freestyle. And it was very kind of like these guys would just play the music. They would scratch records. It was amazing. And they would rap back and forth. Scott Bartholomew also says, loved Digital Underground. Humpty Hump passed away in 2021. See, it really gets you when we start to think about this. So my plan, you know, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to buy this omnibus. I've told a bunch of people at the event about this omnibus, friends that I've met there at the con who actually know me from the show. and I do want to show their picture here, since I am going to talk about what lovely people they are, and what a great time it is. You go to these cons, you see friends that you really enjoy being around. Certainly, Tara is in this picture, um, and she's at the con now. She's not around right now when I say this, but Tara um, and Angelo, very, very good friends of mine who I saw at the con and were at this panel as well. I just want to show you their picture. I told them about this hip hop thing. I'm like, we got to get this. We got to come back next year. We got to convince them to do another panel, because this panel was amazing. I just want to show you the picture of them. I couldn't really get, I'm going to make it bigger. I couldn't really, what's the word? Get this picture to show normally, but I did just want to show you. There I am at the con with Tara and with Angelo, two very good friends at the con who I hung out with at that panel. It was great to see them. We had a good time. We're going to be hanging out again this weekend, guys. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tom, for the $2 super chat. Thank you, Tom, who says, glad to see you having a good time at the con. Thank you, Tom. That's so kind of you. So I did want to mention it, and um so much of this stuff that goes on. Certainly, I just wanted to show you just an old school photo, okay, of some of I think Ed wanted to recreate was this passion and these hip hop battles. And of course we can see um uh there's obviously Run DMC and Jam Master Jay, Flava Flav from Public Enemy, just all these sort of guys. There's a bunch of pictures like this you can find on the internet. I was really looking for a picture of the battle, where essentially what it really was that, as you said, Scott Bartholomew, those freestyle battles where someone would get up and they would rap, and sometimes there'd be a beatbox battle or a freestyle battle. And thanks again, Tom, for your generosity here, and certainly recapturing all these moments, these really special cultural moments of stuff that's supposed to be fun and enjoyable. And this is kind of like a black and white picture of it. I don't know if this is from the 80s, but the notion is that these guys were lyrical artists, and they would go ahead and express themselves in battle back and forth, and it was a magical time. So I did want to mention that. I want to thank Tara. She's such a pleasure to meet yesterday at that panel. And we talked about, we were all trying to identify who is who in these photos, guys. This stuff was so much fun to look at and talk about. There's never enough time for that, of course. But Tara and Angelo are just so incredible. Great friends. You can see them sort of down in the bottom left corner. Yes, Steven, so many of them have passed away. And that's why when they do something like this 50 years of hip hop, this omnibus edition, where, Ed Piscor wants to document this, I think that's so important too. But I did also want to mention that it is true, as DMC said very clearly, that he took inspiration from superhero comics and put that in his lyrics. And if you look at his lyrics, you'll see it there. I think it is really interesting. This huge impact that let's say superhero comics has had on so many rap artists through the years. And certainly now Daryl is heading on his own to do his own comic book. And as I showed you guys again, so do check out, his celebrating DMC 50 years of hip hop limited edition. Guys, do check out DMC's comics, guys. Do check this out. I'm going to get him to sign this. Obviously not today. He is still at the con today. I'm not going to the con today. But Run is there, like he's there. I'm sorry, DMC is there. So you could probably check out Daryl at his booth in Artist Alley. So if you go, do definitely go there to support him. Yes, and thank you, Scott. It says 8 Mile with Eminem was a good example of freestyle battle rap. Thank you, Scott Bartholomew. Guys, do check that out, guys. Check it out. Certainly there's a lot to enjoy. And once again, it's meant for you to enjoy it. It's meant to have fun. let's go ahead and enjoy these things in this world. I thought that this was one of the best panels that I've really ever been to, because I wasn't expecting to see so many comic greats at the panel. And then you mix that with this incredible rap music at the time, which was fun and great. It is also great. I'm going to talk about this. If we do a musings tonight, I'm going to talk about this again. And if we don't do it this week, I'll talk about it the next time we do musings. But I have much more detail that I'm going to go into. But there was so much to this one panel that it was amazing, guys. And I think anybody who remembers this era and the beauty of the creation in this era, and you enjoyed it, certainly you would love this panel. I wish it was longer, and certainly it was a lot of fun to see all these guys up there. It was just amazing panel. So I did want to mention that. It was just such a great experience, and I'm still kind of smiling from it because I didn't know it was going to be like that. I had no idea what it was going to be, honestly. So, just in case you're wondering, yes, DMC has made comics of his own now. He's got DMC Comics, and certainly do check it out. DMC Comics, I kind of have it there. You can see a picture of him here in the background on the page that I'm on. He's in the bottom, in the middle there, with a guy who also made the cover for the EPMD album. You remember album covers in the 80s and 90s were a big deal, in the 70s too, obviously. But those album covers were a big deal. And the guy on the right designed the album cover for EPMD. And it's just remarkable how fantastic the album cover was. And maybe I could find it somewhere. EPMD album cover. Let me see. But that classic album cover was something that was remarkable. Let's see if I can find it. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. It was, of course, a comic design, but I don't think I can find. Oh, yep, I found it. Well, that's lucky. Okay, so it's called. It's from Business as Usual. If you guys remember this, if any of you remember this particular album cover, let me know. I thought that it's a spectacular album cover. It says Business as Usual. There's a EPMD, and of course, this. Oh, I didn't present it. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's not sharing. Wait. Oh, it's because the orientation I'm in. I apologize. Just give me 1 second. So how do I make it bigger? Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. So there's the EPMD album cover. And you can see that there. The guy who's in the picture at the bottom of the screen on the right, he designed this. He did the graphic art for this. And it just was one of the coolest looking album covers at the time. Album covers were a big deal in the 70s, 80s, 90s. That cover was huge. And if you could get something this cool, which this is incredibly cool, you were very lucky to get an artist like this who wanted to do this. I do like how he said that when you stepped into, I think it was Def Jam, could be wrong, but it felt like stepping into Marvel in the 80s and 90s. That's how it felt when he would step into Def Jam. I hope I'm saying the right one, but I made notes, but I'm just going off the top of my head with this one. But I was so impressed with this. This was just an amazing, amazing panel. It was so good. So yeah, I'm going to encourage you guys to go ahead and buy Daryl's comics, DMC Comics. And also, just keep in mind this rich history of hip hop and comics out there does exist. And certainly it looks great in comic book form. Doesn't it look good in graphic novel form? Like this comic look, it looks good, guys. Oh, there's one other book on Amazon I wanted to tell you about. And it's something like the 60 best hip hop comics covers or something like that. 60 hip hop comic covers or something like that, or variants. It might be variants, but I'm totally using the wrong words. Okay, this is it. I think. Is this it? No, this is not it. I'm going to find it. And I just found it like perchance yesterday while I was at the con on my phone, which was very odd. And let's see. hip hop comics. Let's just do hip hop comics. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So this is the other thing I was going to say, and they did show a lot of these yesterday while we were at the presentation as well. So this is the last one I'm going to show. Just bear with me, guys. Thanks for being so patient. So here it is. Marvel, the Hip Hop Covers Volume 1. Okay. So here you can kind of see, I'm going to click on it, make it bigger. And you can see quite a few of these different comics. And they showed a lot of this. This is not coming out as nicely as I wanted it to show. But they showed a lot of these yesterday during the presentation. And I'm sorry I can't show it as well as I'd like to. But certainly you can see some of it there. And it says Marvel, the Hip Hop Covers Volume 1. You can get it on Kindle if you wanted to see it. And they talked about a lot of these covers. Here it's 60 comic book covers that inspired some of the most iconic albums in music history. Experience page after page of incredible artwork of the all new, all different Marvel universe from A-Force X-Men by an unbelievable roster of talent. And there you can see the artists there. So I did just want to mention that also, if you wanted to know what was shown, a lot of what we see here was shown yesterday. All right. And of course, Sam Wilson. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, this is Sam Wilson from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right, guys? Long live Cap. Okay. I'm assuming that's the same one, if I'm correct. Guys, it's such a pleasure kind of telling you about that panel. That really was one of the highlights of the day. After that, I went to, so, with that comment from that creator in mind about how he got death threats because he wanted to go ahead and present a new character, Miles Morales, more or less, or let's say in a certain way, and he got death threats when it was done. And we all went to this panel that I didn't know I was even going to go to this panel, but I did want to mention it because it became somewhat more important after that. And I kind of realized, I said, I wasn't really thinking about this, this part of this, but here we go. It's a panel at the con called Mental Health is Health. And so I don't usually talk about this very much on the channel, really. And certainly I felt it was important, so I went with the group, let's say all my friends, to go to this panel called Mental Health is Health. And they had somebody from RuPaul's Drag Race, who is a drag queen who was there, a Star Trek star also who organized this. And it says, join celebrities and advocates and masterminds, including Mrs. Kasha Davis, Star Trek cast member and superhero IRL founder and CEO Chase Masterson, which I'm sure many of you remember, for a dynamic discussion about how TV, music, movies are working to shift our mental health culture from awareness to action. Now, I did want to mention that they did mention something that I thought was very interesting. Everybody knows what stop, drop, and roll means. Stop, drop, and roll, if you are a certain age, is when there's an emergency and there's a fire, you catch on fire, you stop what you're doing, you drop to the ground, and you roll to kind of like put out the flames so you don't burn too severely, okay? And that's what you know to do in an emergency. But their whole approach to this panel was, what do you do when somebody has a problem with their mental health? And they made a good point of saying that it's not likely that there's going to be millions and billions of dollars being spent on mental health these days. So they kind of put it on individuals to say, why don't you go ahead and check up on your friends and people that you care about using this program called Ask, ASK. And I really liked this idea. This was really the last thing that I thought I would ever be doing or even attending. But here I was talking about mental health at the con, and I started to think about what that creator had said about this death threats that he had gotten. And I'm like, yeah, maybe this is a good thing to have at the con. they weren't pushy or anything like that. It was just the notion of sometimes people do have things that upset them, and how do you respond to that? And do you need to talk to somebody? And I thought about this channel. I thought about what we do on YouTube and how we do talk to people. And I asked for people to put in their remarks, um, regardless of what the remark is, because sometimes you do need to tell somebody how you're feeling. And a lot of this is, checking up on others and listening. And that's so important in mental health in so many cases, how we can help each other. This notion of wanting to help each other, because it's what we're here for. We do care about this community. This community matters. And, certainly it's not just the notion of, you're here and we do care. This is the truth. So this asktohelp.com, which is a link, a link. Do you hear me? Asktohelp.com is a link, and I'm going to go to it. It's called Ask to Help, and I'm going to bring it up in a second. And what I liked about it, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this, guys. You're not going to be like, well, why is she spending so much time on this? I'm not going to spend that much more time on this, but I did want to kind of give it a little bit of airtime, because I think it's important, because for many of us, it's just us. For many of us, we don't have anybody else out there to talk to. And it's called Ask. The best way to help a friend is to ask, acknowledge, support, and keep in touch. And that's all they're asking you to do. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a mental health background. They're saying simply ask, which I think we do here, or acknowledge, excuse me. Let them know their feelings and experiences are valid, that you believe them, and recognize the courage it took to come to you. So that's what the A stands for. The support is show up and ask how you can help, other options and resources for coping methods or professionals if needed, and keep in touch. And that's really important. And a lot of times we'll see some of the members here on the channel, and we'll say, hey, have you heard from this person, or do we know what's going on with this other person? It is important. Actions do speak louder than words, and checking back regularly shows you care, and you care about them. So they give you different examples of acknowledging, supporting, and keeping in touch. And I thought that this was nice. I thought this was really important. And it also, I think, feeds into how we feel, how important it was when we talk about, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, when we want to hear people's opinions, and all of this stuff is done with respect, but it is important for us to share our feelings sometimes, regardless of what it is, whether, sometimes we do just need to share. So I did want to mention that was the mental health thing that we went to. And I thought that was really interesting. And you can kind of see some of the mental health practitioners. Are they on here? I don't have them on here. But it was a great, I'll show you a picture of them. I thought I had a picture on my thumbnail, but I don't. Sometimes you think you add a picture and it's just not there. Okay, so let me just pull that up really quickly and show you the panel just briefly of these professionals who, really felt that this mental health idea, the mental health approach, was so important. And that is here, I think. Okay, so here you can see Chase Masterson is actually on the podium. I'm going to bring it up in a second. You can see Chase. Oh, I have to make this bigger. You can see Chase. She's at the podium. Okay. Oh, no. Yes, that's right. That's what I'm doing. I forget what I'm doing. Chase is at the podium. You can see her there. That's Chase at the podium. And then you can see the other speakers. Each person is involved in this Ask program. And I think it's very important that we do something like this. It is important to keep in contact with the people that we care about and friends, and keep in touch, follow up on people. And I think it was very interesting to do that notion. So I shared it. I just shared it now with everybody here, because I thought that was important, guys. I think it's really important that we do things like this. And now I also wanted to tell you that I also wanted to talk a little bit about Apple TV. Now, have any of you guys started to watch shows on Apple TV? I, as you guys already know, um, watched the Foundation series, and I love Lee Pace. I think he's like extraordinary, um, and he's in that series. But I've also been watching finally For All Mankind, and Julian Mushkin and I are going to be reviewing For All Mankind right here on the Burnettwork. We're going to be reviewing that show. We're going to start with a oh, I'm sorry, Tom. I'm sorry. I know some of you don't have it, but if you can somehow find a way to watch some of those shows, maybe you have a friend, you can go over and watch it with them. But I did want to mention that Apple TV has some extraordinary shows. Thank you, Scott. Says it's badass. It is. Julian Mushkin and I are going to be reviewing seasons 1, 2, and 3 right here on the channel. And then starting on November 10th, when season 4 comes out, we're going to be watching it. But I missed that panel yesterday's. It was actually Thursday's panel. I couldn't make it because I was in the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon panel, which was a really, really long panel. But I did manage to. I just wanted to mention For All Mankind, they did have an incredible screening here. I guess I missed it. I didn't know much about it, but they said it was incredible. That season 4 is remarkable. So do check out the Burnettwork, guys, if you want to find out what's going on and discuss and share your thoughts about For All Mankind. I actually want to move my picture over to the right. Thank you so much for that. Scott Bartholomew says, great revisionist history. Looking forward to season 4. It is going to be great, isn't it, Scott? This is certainly a wonderful way for people to even speculate, because a lot of times as historians, if you are a historian, you love history, you might say, well, if this had happened, if this person hadn't won the war, how different would history be now? And that's often something that's talked about, and I think they explore that a lot. Maybe not about war, but about major events that happen in, and let's say over the last 100 years, because they start with 1960, right, Scott, or around there, or 1970, and it is a wonderful journey through the last 40 or 50 years of history at this revisionist um, approach, but has it's historical because it's based on real life events, of course, if they had turned out a different way. So I think it's an incredibly creative show, and I enjoy the headlines. Sometimes they do the headline in the beginning of a season and you see everything that's happened. I was told that for season 4, it's spectacular what they've done. So I'm looking forward to that. But come back to the Burnettwork. As I said, Julie Mushkin and I are going to be reviewing seasons 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to start to review every episode starting from the November 10th premiere for season 4. But Apple TV also had a panel for The Changeling. And I got a poster for The Changeling, which is a remarkable program. And I don't really want to tell too much about it, other than that it's based on a book, and I got to see the entire panel of not just the writer, who's literally right there. That's the writer of the book, The Changeling, and this is the showrunner, and that's the entire cast and crew, or not entire cast and crew, but a lot of the cast and crew. Yes, they do have a trailer for season 4, Scott. Yes, they do have the trailer for All Mankind season 4. Yes, it is out. And certainly, yes, you can watch that now. It's available. From what I've heard, it's unbelievable. And hello to Anonymous. He says, just got in, popped in to say hello and hope everyone is well and happy as can be. And what a lovely well wish from you, Anonymous. We hope you are doing great as well. So yes, Scott, it's out. Yes. So guys, make sure you do check that out as well. Also going to mention, so go ahead and check out Apple TV if you have it. Check out The Changeling. This panel was incredible. They talked about the inspiration for the show, and they also gave me, whoops, that was kind of something fell. I'm trying to get the, there's a prop from the show. I don't know if anybody even watched The Changeling, but I was going to say that they also gave out these bracelets, which are important to the show. So if anybody watches The Changeling, this bracelet is very important. And it says, careful what you wish for. Careful what you, it's too small. Careful what you wish for. I'm going to go to the bigger screen here. Yeah, that's better. And it says The Changeling. And it's careful what you wish for, very clearly. And there's this special bracelet. This bracelet is important. There are different wishes in this show. So that's something to think about as well. And I'll just show you the poster again. I wasn't sure if I showed the poster, the big poster. You can see the character. It's set in Harlem. And it's a very interesting story. One of many really interesting stories on Apple TV. That you could check out if you wanted to, but certainly For All Mankind, we're going to cover that as well. So, and also Bonzo. Good to see you, Bonzo Kilborn. Yes, a good time was had by all, Bonzo. I have to say that as well. So there's one more panel that I was going to mention, and I could have showed Changeling here. I could have showed that here on this, and I might actually do that. That's what I actually meant to do. Sometimes I have a plan in what I'm going to do. Guys, this is not the Changeling, the movie that you've seen before. This is different. The Changeling was a different, it's a fairy tale for grown-ups. It's how they're marketing it, and I'll just show it briefly because I didn't want to go past an hour, but I've gone past an hour. Here it says Apple TV presents The Changeling. And so, I was there late. This was till 8:30, right? This is the wrong one. No, that's the right one. Yeah, it was last night. Okay. Adapted from the best-selling book of the same name, The Changeling is a fairy tale for grown-ups, a horror story, a parenthood fable, and a perilous odyssey through New York City you didn't know existed. And so certainly was. It's a dark mythical fairy tale that will intrigue viewers at every shocking turn, hosted by the Changeling author, Victor Laval. And it's an 8-part drama series, executive produced by Academy Award nominee Lakeith Stanfield, and created by Kelly Marcel, who is also the executive producer. So it was great to see all these guys there. And I encourage you to watch that. I also want to tell you about the last panel. I can't remember what was it called? For mature, I can't remember what it was called, but it was about comic books that are written for adults. That should not be a surprise that I that I was at a comic book reading or something about mature readers. And essentially in this particular panel, the group talked about no, it didn't have any other Trek alums. No, it didn't, Scott. And Chase mentioned that she wanted to start this panel because she herself felt like she fell victim to depression and anxiety. And it was very important for her to bring forth a group of people who not only acknowledge this depression and anxiety, she says, because a lot of times people go through depression and anxiety, but also come up with a peer-to-peer solution. It was a peer-to-peer solution for Ask, which was acknowledge. I can't remember what the ASK stands for. See, this is what happens to me. This peer-to-peer solution of showing support for others regardless of what your background is. You don't have to be a counselor. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to go ahead and reach out to people. You're going to listen to them, acknowledge. You're also going to sympathize, and you're going to keep in touch. And that's what the ASK stood for. So I'm sorry, there was nobody else besides Chase Masterson. I don't know whether there were any other panelists from Star Trek around. There is a Star Trek panel today, and I didn't go to that. So I'm going to pull it up in a second as soon as I'm done with this, Scott. Okay. So hang in there. Yeah, Anonymous, this is a good question. That's what they were kind of trying to allude to about comics for mature readers. And what they showed were comics for mature readers. And they actually talked about how much they got away with as comic book artists in the 80s and how different it is now, how they would be censored. Dean Haspel was there from and Ann Nessetti, Peter Ratovsky, and Back Som. And it was really interesting when these guys talked about their comics. Here's one guy with his comic called COVID Cop. But I thought it was really interesting. Peter Ratovsky had a comic that dealt with politics, and he says that it was censored and he wasn't able to show it everywhere. So that was also very interesting. And of course, there were very graphic novels of a sexual nature that you wouldn't want a child to see. But in the 80s, there was a lot that kids saw. It was very different at the time. So I enjoyed it. And certainly, what I was going to say is the guests are, that panel is, where is it? It's in the top right. So let me move over. These guys in the top right of this, of the background picture, I think Peter's the one who's in front of that computer and his hand is up like this. It was an interesting panel to listen to them talk about how things have changed and how, oftentimes violence is not censored, but nudity is. It's considered inappropriate here, especially in the US. So I did want to mention that. I enjoyed that. I also wanted to, yeah, this is interesting, Scott. You talk about the innocence in comics from the 70s and 80s. Yeah. I mean, uh, certainly was very different themes to characters, that's for sure. Um, but it, I think that going forward, these artists are going to find that they have to push themselves. And people ask, did you feel that the company, whether it be Marvel or DC, pushed you to be more expressive? And there was, there was a lot of comments of, we didn't feel like we had to be pushed. We could just do whatever we wanted. So we didn't have those limitations, except for when they were censored for sexuality. But it was an interesting conversation. And certainly, I do think that these guys' comics, one guy had said that he was afraid once he put the comic out that someone might start to send him death threats. So that is a scary thought. And we have seen authors at some of these readings, not at this one, but in Buffalo fairly recently, Salman Rushdie, who was attacked for his book. Of course, that one was a different topic, but equally so, we know that these guys can sometimes go ahead and publish things and they're afraid. I think that was interesting that Peter admitted he was concerned about that. So, but that was it was a very different discussion in a sense, where one of the comic book writers talked about looking at bodies and, wasn't sure if this is how people are, would do in sexual situations. And one of the men on the panel had said, yeah, this looks like how, when I'm with somebody, it looks just like this. So I thought it was very interesting, this interpretation of what does it look like if a person or a man or a woman or whomever has an intimate relationship, and how do you express that in a comic book? Can you express it effectively in a comic book? Does it make sense? Is it relatable? And it seemed pretty relatable to me. I mean, it looked like those things and those themes, certainly of a sexual nature, scenes of a sexual nature, scenes of a mature nature. And they also talked about how some of these themes are not interesting to children in a sense, because, children are not necessarily interested in some of these mature themes as well. So that is something to talk about. Anonymous, they did mention how at a lot of these comic book shops, there were, people of mature age going in and buying those comics, of course, which is something I don't think happens anymore. But for a time, there were a lot of people going into the comic book shops of a mature age and looking for mature themes. So I wonder if we're going to get that back, guys. Are we going to get comic books of this mature nature and people lining up to go again? Hopefully it'll return. Before I get to the Star Trek panel, which is happening, it's probably happening now, Scott. I wanted to mention another, friend who I met at the con. She was there last year, but I didn't see her. And that, of course, is my very good friend. Here you see in the bottom, all the way in the bottom right. This is Luminara 843, who I call the Queen of Figure Flex. She does Figure Flex Friday with Lael on his show, Figure Flex, and with Loco Lou. Loco Lou was also here today, but I didn't run into him. And I did just want to mention that we finally got a chance to meet one another. She had the most incredible Spider-Man cosplay, and I kind of wish she was at the DMC cosplay because panel rather, because if she was at the DMC cosplay, I sure hope I did this right. Okay. Yeah, it said don't click that. Oops, sorry. If she was there, it would have been great to for them to see her costume because it was so beautiful. Okay, am I still doing this right? Okay. Scott says, I remember how controversial the character Den. Yes, I remember Den. Um, and of course, Den, I kind of like that character. He starts off as this ordinary dude, but when he goes to that new world, he's Den, right? And he looks like Conan the Barbarian. And he talks about his old body wasn't anything, but his new body worked great. I remember Den saying that in the Heavy Metal, the movie, let's say. um Certainly. And I was just talking about Heavy Metal magazine with a friend of mine yesterday, and how much he enjoyed that magazine. Certainly very interesting to talk about. Thank you for bringing that up, Scott. Hello, Rod Thunderheart. Hope you are well today. Guys, thank you everybody who's here for joining me um, in this review of my New York Comic Con Day 2. I'm nearly done. Yes, Rod, so good to see you. And Rod says, how would you like a copy of See Through Love autograph? Yeah, I would love that. I would love that, Rod. I will reach out to you on Facebook, Rod. Yeah, I would love that. Let me know how much it is. And certainly would love that. I would love an autograph copy, guys. And of course, as you know, Rod Thunderheart he's a writer, and he is writing his new book and has been keeping us informed as to the progress of the book. So it's wonderful to see you here, Rod. Now, before I go to that panel, Scott, that's the last thing I'm going to talk about. I'm going to bring up the panel and let you know who is here from Star Trek, at least on the panel, which is taking place today. I'm not at the con today, but I know there is a Star Trek panel today, and the entire Trek group, which I belong to, are there. And certainly, I'm going to be seeing them on Sunday night for another meetup. But I missed them last year. Last year, I went to the panel when they had the Picard season 3 preview panel with everybody from the Next Generation, and that was fantastic, guys. That was a great experience at the con. This year I didn't get tickets to it, but I want to show you this picture of Luminara 843. She is the queen of Figure Flex Friday on Lael's channel, along with another guy by the name of Loco Lou, who is also a very good friend of mine. I've had him on my channel as well. And I want to show you her. She's in her cosplay. You can see me there. You're going to see the picture. The picture is actually on the screen, as well. But there I am. And there is Luminara 843, the queen of Figure Flex Friday. And I did just want to show you her. We finally met. Luminara, it's such a pleasure to finally meet you after all this time. Her cosplay was amazing. As you can see, she is a Spider-Man there. I just think she's such a lovely person. It was so great to finally meet her. But I did want to mention how much that meant to me, because I was like, where are you? And she's like, I'm here. And then I was like, oh, I'm in this panel. And sometimes you try to meet up with people and you can't always meet up with them right away. But it was wonderful to meet her, and I'm going to continue to reach out to her. Certainly, guys, you want to check her out on Figure Flex Fridays on Lael's channel, the 1/6 Scale Man Network. And finally, I did want to go, as Scott, as I promised to you, for the Star Trek panel. Guys, this panel for Star Trek is happening, but I'm not at the con today. However, many people I know are at this particular panel. So I did just want to show it to you here. Oh, there was an IDW panel for Star Trek, but that's not the one in question. Now here it is. It's called Star Trek Universe. It happens at 1:45 to 3. So it's now. It's actually happening now. In a few minutes, a bunch of the Trek community are lining up for this panel as we speak, Scott. And let's see who's at the one, since you asked for it today. Guys, I'm not going to this panel. I'll just let you know it's at the Empire Stage. It's at 1:45 p.m. to 3. It says a fan favorite Star Trek universe returns to New York Comic Con, featuring special advance screening of an all new episode from the current season of the hit Paramount original animated comedy series Star Trek Lower Decks, plus more exciting reveals and surprises for Star Trek fans in attendance. So they only have Alex Kurtzman, Josh Horowitz, and Mike McCann there, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have the entire cast from Lower Decks. And that's what I have. That's the only information I have, Scott. I wish I had known. I would have asked. Some of my Trekkie friends about who was rumored to be there. Excuse me, but I didn't ask, so I don't really know. However, I'm sure it's gonna be a fun panel. And thank you for all the support today, Scott, with the comments. It really does help me go through the show. So that's pretty much everything that's happened, everybody. I did just want to make you aware of my day 2 at the con. And I'm not going on Saturday or Sunday this year. However, these 2 days were amazing. Sunday, I am going to Star Trek meetup here in New York. It's for you're welcome. You're welcome, Scott. Sunday night, I'm going to a meetup in Manhattan of other Trekkies, and I don't even know if they call them Trekkies anymore. But I'm going to be doing that on Sunday. It's going to be at 6:00, and it's going to be at a place called, where are we going to be? Why is it never where I'm looking for? Yeah, it's the New York City Geek Life party. And it's going to be at the Beer Authority in New York City on Sunday. So I'll be there greeting and saying hello to everybody, since everybody will be there. But I did just want to thank everybody today. And Rod Thunhart says, excellent. Okay, Latino Slant is almost done. He loves the book. I can't wait to read it, Rod. That sounds amazing. I love stories and books like this. You've been working on this, and it just sounds amazing. Rod, thank you for thinking of me as well. Well, that's going to do it for my New York Comic Con 2023 panel for day 2 and experience at the con. And guys, I kind of did a very impromptu show, meaning I didn't quite script it or anything like that. I'm moving this thing around, move over to this side or move over to this side so you can see the whole thing. But I did just want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson, who is my moderator, collaborator, and good friend, and a very important part of the Burnettwork family, guys. We are all goof people. I also want to thank everybody that I managed to meet. I don't know, Scott. Let's see what happens. It has been somewhat busy days these days, and different things have been coming up. So where we're not all available at the same time, which is fine. Sometimes things do come up, and it's something to think about. So let's see what happens. If there is a musings tonight, I will talk more about the hip hop panel, because there was so much in it, and I couldn't fit it into even an hour's worth of talk. There was so much. So I will continue to talk about and say other things that I have not said in this broadcast, but I did just want to make you guys aware of what I saw, and even more. Thank you, Rod and Anonymous. Thank you so much. And guys, I'm going to end the stream. It's been such a pleasure talking to all of you about my New York Comic Con 2023 experience for my second day. It's been wonderful, and seeing everybody here at the con, listening to the different panels and getting different perspectives, seeing friends. It's been phenomenal. And just thank you for all the support. Thank you, Tom, also for the super chat. Tom, you're amazing. And thank you for everything you do. And guys, with that, I'm going to end the show. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.